closer than feels like comfortable.
Yeah. Well, whatever's comfortable for you is fine with me. So,
Alrighty.
yeah, how'd you guys make out at the trade show? I was supposed to be there, but
Yeah.
I had to reschedule some things for clients, and unfortunately had to give my little 2 hour shift away. I know you guys were there in the spring. I see
Yeah.
you, Jake.
Yeah, the spring one was fantastic. It was so busy. This one was pretty good. Probably better than I expected. We had a very slow Friday, which is always the case.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday were pretty good though. We get a lot of really positive like reactions to our stuff,
Yeah.
and we do a giveaway. So we get a lot of people entering for that, and as a result just people stopping and talking, and I like to hear their different stories because there's a lot of different ways that people have been affected by the flooding recently. So
Yeah, it's kind of been like an ongoing compounding effect because we haven't
yeah.
the water table's still pretty high from what I understand.
Yeah,
And
it's been kind of a dry summer, but there's still some people that have water coming up in their basement every time it just even drizzles.
Yeah, I see Jake's videos all the time, and it's crazy some of the contraptions that people have like DIY'd themselves and expect it to work or hope it works, and essentially fails, and it's a kind of an altogether waste of money, which is unfortunate because I'm sure nobody likes to waste money or time or effort. But yeah, what were you guys giving away at the home show? And I guess I'm curious, like, what would you have like? I never went to the fall one, unfortunately. So, what did you like more about the spring one versus the fall one? Was it more like spring's more like, hey, everything's nice out and it's a lot of outdoorsy stuff?
Yeah, I think the spring one is busier. Number one, there's a lot more vendors in the spring. It's just bigger overall, and there's a lot more people coming through the door.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like the season. Like people are excited to get out in the spring and do something. Like they're getting antsy from sitting inside all winter.
Right. And you feel like everybody's kind of like summer's over. Like it's not quite as, I mean, not that it's negative, but not quite as like uppity and positive maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. People are a little more like ready for winter hibernation, or just like upset that it's getting cold out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I actually like the fall. It's one of my favorite seasons. I mean, obviously I do a bit of hunting.
Right.
I do enjoy that you get a little bit of relief. I mean, we're getting towards the tail end of this, but you know, in the first part of it, you can like throw a hoodie on in the morning.
Yeah.
And you maybe still even have shorts on. Now I think we're closer to pant weather. And then kind of midday, you still get that nice kind of warm afternoon. Mind you, depending on how you dressed, you might have had to bring, some people joke like, yeah, got to bring a change of clothes for the Atlantic kind of fall weather.
Honestly,
until
it's
it
freezing.
really turns. Yeah.
Freezing in the morning, and then it gets like you're sweltering by midday.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you got to adjust accordingly. But what did you guys give away for a giveaway? I know you guys had like a battery pack last in the spring. Was it a similar offering?
Same thing.
Yeah.
So we just do the same one at every show, which makes it simple for us, and it's really popular. It's called a Jacqui.
Yeah.
So it's just like a little camping portable generator thing. It's handheld. You can plug it in the wall or plug it into a solar panel to charge.
Okay.
And people really like it.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
We used to do a ton of camping and hiking, and unfortunately you get to work for yourself and you don't have as much of that free time. And like, you know, when you're a 9 to 5 or Monday to Friday, you kind of got your weekends.
Right.
And I'm sure you guys can attest, like you got to kind of make the time, and maybe it's my fault of not making the time, but you know, just in your fourth year, or even if you're in your first couple of years of entrepreneurship, sometimes you feel like you can't like allot yourself that time to enjoy yourself, which is, you know, bit of
absolutely.
a shame. But, yeah.
It's hard to prioritize it. It's important, and everybody tells you that you need to take time for yourself, but to actually put it down on the schedule and then follow through with it is something else.
Because, you know, as soon as you do, it's like people's spidey senses go off. It's like, oh,
yeah. And then
our
you're like,
flood protection person wants to go on vacation. We need to book them now. Or like me on the other side, it's like, oh, I think our realtor actually wants to do something for themselves for once.
Now it's time
Let's book some showings or list a home. And it's like, you know, kind of funny. It just happened. Like the only thing I had in my calendar was I did the Toronto IBJJF tournament. So train jiu-jitsu. I'm probably assuming Jake mentioned it to you.
He did, yeah.
So yeah, like that was a pretty top tier tournament, and I hadn't competed in like 4 years, and I was like, you know what, it's time to shake the rust off, because I always was wondering, like, in the gym, I was like, I think I can still competitively hang, but I'm not sure because I haven't done it in a while. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it just for a little check for myself. And it's like as soon as I did, it's like, oh yeah, we want to list now, and it's like right the week before I'm gonna go. So I'm trying to balance, like, still get my training in,
right,
commitments to clients. Luckily, it all panned out, and I did well, and we got through it, and nobody really needed me too much while I was there, but it does deter from the focus of things, when you're always worrying about stuff over here, and you're trying to kind of line up over here with what you're doing. But anyway,
Absolutely.
Such is life. So anyway, I wanted to welcome you on, Jacqui.
Yeah.
You are the CEO and founder of Mechanical Flood Protection.
Yep. That's me. It feels weird to say that, but
does it? Does it still feel weird?
It still does.
How many years have you guys been into it now?
So we've been in business. Jake started the year before he met me, and then when we met, I started in the business probably a couple months into it. So coming up on 10 years, anyways.
Wow.
And then we just shifted into mechanical flood protection last year, which is when I really sort of stepped into more of a CEO role.
Okay.
Before that, we were doing just like a very general plumbing business. So plumbing renovations and new homes. And so I was doing a lot of organizing and back end stuff, but it was all just keeping up with the business. And now I'm actually trying to grow it. So it's a bit more of a leadership role too.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little rewind. Can you give us a little like background? Like what was, have you guys always been kind of a duo team together? Has there been any past like work experience or anything like that would have led you to this? Or?
Yeah. So a bit of background. Jake and I met on Tinder.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Right on. A success story.
Yeah, absolutely. Pro Tinder over here. He had just started his business about a year prior, like I mentioned, and
just the plumbing.
Yep, just the plumbing business. So it was called MSNR Inc., which is Mechanical Services Niagara Region, which is where we're from. And I was working in a veterinary clinic.
Okay.
So I have a lot of veterinary background. Probably about 8 years I worked in between 3 different clinics, and I also did wildlife rehab and rescue prior to that. So it's pretty interesting stuff, but I always had a bit of drive to do something for myself. I've got that entrepreneurial mindset. My dad ran a business for himself.
What did he do?
He's an electrician.
Funny, my old man was as well.
Oh, nice.
Lobster fishing was the main when we were young, but like prior to that build up, the rule was like across the board for Gramp and him and me and Dad. It was like you got to go to school, get an education, and then fishing was always like the backup plan B. So anyway.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So definitely had some entrepreneurship in our family, but for some reason, like Gramp and Dad always says, like, oh no, you don't want to work with your hands. This, you want something better than this. Meanwhile, they're making great money.
Right.
And managing their own schedules and running their own life and everything through my lens was like, this is awesome. Like, why do they think that I don't want this?
Yeah,
which was kind of confusing.
Kind of weird. Like our generation in school, it was always pushed to get into like computers so you can sit at a desk and have an easy life and just like exactly sit behind a desk and do nothing for somebody else.
I think all our parents were a little brainwashed by
they
that.
were.
It was like, you got to go to university, you got to get a degree with a job with a pension and benefits.
Yeah,
you don't want to do this. Meanwhile, it's like,
and now we're all learning like, hey, this is actually pretty sweet. It's hard, but it's good.
But like anything that's worth doing, it's definitely not going to come easy.
Yeah,
most things are fairly difficult to get going, but once you get that initial kind of steps, like it starts to get easier. Yeah. So what made you guys make the big leap from like Ontario to Nova Scotia to the East Coast?
It was a big move, but we didn't really think of it as such, I guess, at the time. We were in business and having a hard time with the mental load of it there, and kind of looking for a change but not really sure what we were going to do. I was pregnant And then COVID hit.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Everybody loves to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. And then everything changed. I guess to start with, every year since Jake and I have met, we have road tripped out to Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Just as a vacation. So we do the Cabot Trail and we'd come to Halifax and party more than I like to admit.
Hey, well, we all did it. Trust me. I partied pretty hard too.
So after COVID hit, we were kind of homebound for a while and thinking of different things to do. Never really imagined a big move like this, but we thought about different like directions we could take the business is kind of what we were thinking. And then we met up with a realtor in Fort Erie where we were living, and he was just randomly like, hey, let me just do an assessment on your home and tell you how much you could get for it. And it was an insane amount, more than we had ever thought.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, all right, sure, like let's do it. Let's list it and figure it out from there. So we listed and had an offer the same day.
Wow.
We accepted and started looking for a new place. And we found a place also in Fort Erie that we were pretty interested in. And that was kind of the direction we were going to go. It was commercial residential. So we were going to have a big shop and seemed great. But something kept holding us back from like firming up on it. So honestly, I don't know where the idea came from. Probably Jake, because he thinks of just weird things. He's like, let's just look around in Nova Scotia and like maybe see what happens there. And at that point, our kiddo was about 2 months old. Okay. So we found a couple places here, and during COVID, we couldn't come out and look or anything. So we decided to find a condo because we figured that was a safe bet, buying sight unseen. At least there are not going to be any structural things that we can't handle in a condo building. So we ended up doing a couple of virtual tours of condos and settled on a nice little place in Clayton Park.
Okay.
And just decided to do it. And it was kind of just like, I don't know, didn't seem like as big of a decision back then as it is looking back on it.
Right.
So
sometimes you get caught in the moment. Yeah. It's just like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. Exactly. So we made an offer, well over asking price. It was scary.
Yeah.
And it was accepted, and we had a closing date and started just packing up and selling everything.
Yeah, I gotta get rid of, offload some stuff, and
and then just managing like how we're gonna come out here and what we're gonna do. And we had a pretty good chunk of change in our bank account from the house sale, so we decided to just come out and take some time off. But it was challenging in that Jake was still in business there, so he's trying to wrap up loose ends. So what we ended up doing was we drove out here together with the baby and all of our stuff and got into the condo, and then Jake drove back home and lived with my parents for about 2 months to finish business. And I was stuck here with a 4-month-old baby at that point, and my dog in the middle of COVID was
stuck inside.
No vehicle because we left my car at home. I was like, I can just walk around, like it's Halifax, it'll be fine. It was December and it sucked.
Dear. Yeah.
So it was a challenge, but yeah, couldn't be happier, honestly.
That's awesome. Who'd you guys use for a real estate agent?
Oh, she was lovely, Elizabeth Martin.
Gee, I haven't come across her, but there's so many of us. Like, it's hard to get it, you know.
She was really great. She was an older Hungarian lady.
Okay.
And she did like a virtual tour with us over Zoom or whatever. And really helpful. She helped us buy our house afterwards,
in
too.
Timberley? Yeah. How'd you guys get in touch with her? Was it like a referral from your agent in Ontario?
No, she was the listing agent on another condo. So we reached out to her.
Okay.
Just curious about the condo. And she's like, well, this one's sold, but there's another one in the building that I'm not listing, but I could take you through it. So just sort of happened upon her like that.
Yeah, it's funny how that works out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. You had a good experience.
Yeah.
So you did the veterinary thing. You met Jake. He was still in business. So obviously, like, entrepreneurship for him was already kind of front and center. But was there anything that, like, was clear to you guys that you guys were going to kind of make the switch into what we see today, the mechanical flood protection? Or were you kind of initially maybe just kind of laterally going to move his business here?
It was a lot of back and forth between what we're going to do. So when we came out, we decided to take some time off. I mentioned we were struggling with just the mental load of business in Niagara.
Right. Is it the speed of it, the amount? Was it anything specific?
Just like the sporadicness of everything. We're working for a lot of contractors. They can be very demanding.
Right. Timelines.
They don't like to pay their bills.
Yeah. This is a problem across the board, I think,
Yeah.
anywhere you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot. And then organizing our team, and we had some struggles with employees, and just everything sort of on top of itself was a lot. So we just needed a break.
You needed a little break, a little reset.
Yeah, and we weren't 100% sure that we were going to go back into business. We were leaning towards not, actually.
Oh,
so
taking a totally different path.
Yeah, actually, after we took some time off, when we got out here, Jake ended up getting a job plumbing.
Okay.
Yeah.
With like another business.
Yep, another business. He was pretty happy with the business. Great experience. He learned a lot. It was really beneficial because things are obviously different in Ontario and here. So we learned a lot about how things are done here.
What would have been some of the main differences you see from like Ontario to Halifax?
I couldn't,
or Nova Scotia.
Honestly, I probably couldn't tell you, but there's some code differences and just some like allowances outside of the code, just like how specific things are done, like whether they, I don't know, I'm going to start talking technical and it won't make sense to either of us.
That's okay.
Like just like the different water lines that they use to stub out or anything like that. Jake will just come home and start talking about it, and I catch some of it, but
yeah.
Just
so
a lot
he's
of
the
differences.
technical guy.
Yeah.
You're the business mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and then it was just the mental load again of being an employee. He was gone. He had to work over in Dartmouth, so he'd leave like before it got light and got home after dark, and that started becoming hard. So we started considering going back into business, and all the while, like, we hadn't shut down the company. We're incorporated, so it's really difficult to shut down. So we were just keeping it open and just kind of letting it happen. And then we decided to, actually, I lied. There was another period where we decided to take some time off and travel.
Travel? Yeah. Where'd you guys go?
We bought a 40-foot motorhome.
Nice.
And went out to BC. So we spent
after getting here.
Yeah.
Oh, so you went cross Canada tour.
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys been busy.
For sure. Yeah, we dragged he was 2 at that time, our kiddo Jacqui. Dragged him out there, and we were gone for the good part of summer. Anyways, we took a couple months out there, and then probably a month travel on each side.
That's super cool. Yeah, me and my family were big campers too. Like, we didn't do like the, some people go to the Disneyland and go to the down south trips and bring the whole family in these nice, fancy, snazzy, super expensive trips. And like, Dad always did them well, but Mom and Dad were super frugal. We lived in like a modest bungalow home, shared a bedroom with my brother till I moved out. So, but camping, that was the thing. We lived in a small community down in Yarmouth County called Argyle.
Oh, nice.
And it was pretty tight knit. And basically, like, every year we'd like pack up. The whole community almost would like figure out when everybody wanted to go camping, and then we'd go to like Keji, which I'm sure you guys have probably heard of. No,
not actually. No.
Oh, Keji Makujik National Historic Park down. It's like down the South Shore.
Oh, okay.
I almost forget exactly where it is. It's around the Caledonia region, a little inland. If you guys are still campers, highly recommend it. Very nostalgic for me. I've been a few times with my wife, but we do like a couple weeks there. Nice. And then we kind of move the whole group over, and we go to like, sometimes we go to the Cape Breton Highlands.
Yeah.
We did Fundy National Park in New Brunswick, and we kind of just do the Atlantic tour, we'll call it.
Cool.
And that was our summers. So, you know, camping's very near and dear to my heart for sure. So when I hear other people getting their kids together and families and going camping, it's very nostalgic. So yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, we did, when we were growing up, my parents had a motorhome, so we did like Algonquin and stuff
Oh, nice.
lot. So it was really nice.
That's
and then,
one place I've never been.
No, it's awesome. I haven't been, honestly, since I was a kid, so I feel terrible about that. But we'd take all the cousins, like my parents and like 5 or 6 kids, and just go for a couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. So what would have been like the defining moment or like the aha moment where, you know, you guys have been kind of, do we work for somebody else? What do we do? Do we get back to just the plumbing business? To like, when did the idea come that like, hey, maybe we got to get into flood protection because we see that there is a demand or an issue? Like, was there any defining moment there that made you?
Yeah, the defining moment was July 2023 when everybody flooded.
Yeah.
So between our trip out west, we came home and we stayed out on our property for a bit and decided like, okay, it's time to get back to the real world, essentially. So we decided to go back into business and just take more control over things. But it was still plumbing. So we came back and we did renovation plumbing, got some contractors, which were wonderful to work for, but kind of found some mentors, I guess, online, like Alex Hermosi specifically is probably the biggest part of our business journey, and he really got us into thinking about how to niche down. So we really wanted to find something specific, and we kept going back to like renovation plumbing, but that's still very difficult to be. There's still so many aspects of.
It's pretty broad. Yeah,
exactly.
Pretty broad.
So Jake was in his van. We have a big cube van for work, and just looking around and like, oh my God, he has tools for every possible plumbing issue that could come up. And it was overwhelming to him. And he's like, I just want to focus on one thing. I like to say a lot of people here in Nova Scotia don't know Steam Whistle very well. It's a brewery in Toronto. Usually when I say like we do one thing really, really well, like Steam Whistle.
Right.
A lot of people don't catch on to that, but I say it anyways.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. Yeah. I used to work for Unilever Canada, and our head office was on 160 West Bloor.
Yeah.
So being exposed to people from Ontario, Toronto, Steam Whistle would always come up.
Very common.
And I did have the opportunity to try it.
Cool.
And it's very nice beer, for sure.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice, light, crisp.
Yeah.
That's my speed. Like, I used to be into, like, the craft beer stuff, when I was drinking, and, like, not that I was, like, drinking a ton, but, like, when it was more prevalent, like, going out and stuff, and I just found after a while, I don't know if it's because I got older or what, but like the unfiltered, like just would wouldn't agree with me very well. So I reverted back to just the light stuff when I do partake.
Gotcha. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I like crafty beers, but I haven't drank in over a year now. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any specific reason? Like I've been trying to get away from it too, but I still find myself. When I'm out, like I still like a nice draft. Like say I'm out for wings with a buddy. Like I'm going out for wings with a buddy on Thursday.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I'm like, no, I'm not going to have one. And then it's just like, looks so good.
Yeah.
And then I usually have like 1 or 2, but like, I'm like a 3 beer guy. That's it now. And I'm like going home, driving. Probably not if I had 3, but just 2.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know. I just like to be home by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, unwind,
Me
wake
too.
up, not feeling like garbage. And doing the stuff I enjoy doing. And I found that the one reason I was trying to get away from it is sometimes when I drink a little bit more into excess, I wouldn't feel good the next day. I wouldn't go train jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't want to walk the dogs.
Yeah.
Wouldn't really want to do anything because I just, want to lay on the couch and catch up on the sleep I lost. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely been it's definitely less, but it's been a journey to try and get there because it's so like a socially acceptable thing, or like it's almost like ingrained in society. And like if you're not drinking with a bunch of people that are, it's like, oh, you're not drinking?
What's wrong?
Are you okay? Are you sick?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, actually, I just don't really want to drink. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I think
weird.
like the thoughts of people's heads, like they think they're better than us or something. Like, no.
I think it is becoming a lot more socially acceptable now, though. A lot of people are stopping drinking.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier now than it would have been even a couple of years ago.
For sure.
Yeah. So I just developed some health issues and decided to go on a complete elimination diet, including alcohol, and I reintroduced a lot of stuff, but I'm definitely sensitive to gluten, so I can't drink the beers that I like.
Right.
And
so the crafty ones out the window.
Yeah. And then any other alcohol, I'm just not really a big fan of. No. So I just haven't. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Hopefully I could get there. It's not that it's caused me any real grief in terms of like volume or anything. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes you get drunk or whatever, and whatever situation, like I just find like sometimes it doesn't serve me the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's in that moment or, you know, the next day or whatever. And it's just like, well, if it's not really producing any really positive net outcome,
what's the point?
What are we doing here? But, you know, every once in a while, like I said, if you're out with the boys or friends, family, and, you know, you want one to kind of chill the nerves out a little bit, like, I don't see a problem with that in moderation, but I'm slowly trying to get to the point where maybe not. And like my wife's not a big drinker, but she likes the odd glass of wine. So, you know, the extent it goes here is maybe we watch a movie. She wants to have a glass of wine, and, you know, there's only like 2 or 3 glasses in a bottle. So usually between us, like a glass and a half, or maybe she'll have 1 and I'll have 2 or whatever. Yeah. It works out to. And then it's just like a nice little chill thing instead of like, you know, growing up, you know, in university, like sometimes we drink just because. And then I felt like that kind of trickled into like adult life. Yeah. And then, you know, even across like our friend groups, it was still prevalent that it was just like, oh, it's the weekend. And then you just spend a bunch of money and you really got nothing to show for it, but a miserable next day and, you know, less money in your account. So. You not only lose like the whole night you were drinking, but also the next day. And as you get older, even maybe the day after that. Yeah. Me, it's a couple days now. And like, to your point, like both being entrepreneurs, you know, it kind of kills down that motivation to get after it and keep it going. And absolutely. Yeah. I just found it caused more problems than it was worth. So I tried to minimize that down a little bit. So, so interesting dynamic you guys got. Obviously being a partnership with your partner. How is being the CEO and the founder of the business, you know, is there any friction? How do you guys deal with that? Like, is the division of tasks pretty clear and maybe you don't see much of that? Or like, how do you guys handle that? I'm just curious.
It's pretty good for us, and I think part of it is we've grown together as a business. So Jake started the business before he met me, but I started working with him about 2 months into us knowing each other. And it's just sort of happened very naturally for us. I love family business. I think it's the best thing ever. I think that if anybody ever has the option to go into business with their spouse, they should do it. Because 2 people working for the same goal like that with really like the same set of values and everything, like there's nothing stronger.
Do you find it like more firmly aligns yourselves, like not just professionally, but even personally at home? Absolutely.
But of course there's struggles. We end up talking about business all the time.
Is that like the main struggle? Like you think it's all business all the time?
I think so. And I love it. And we address it sometimes. We're like, should we maybe talk about something else? Or like go on a business free vacation or do something. But I don't want to. Right. To be honest, I love business. Like I live and breathe it. Jake thinks it's weird because I said the other day, I'm like, I think I'm actually passionate about pumps. You know?
Well, that's like, good.
It's a little weird. Never thought I'd be here, but I am. But we end up just, like I said, talking about business all the time. Especially if we have something going on, like not so great in the business or having an issue with
Fires
whatever
put
it
out.
may be, then we end up we are less of a sounding board for each other and more of an echo chamber. So we end up talking and not getting anywhere.
So you're amplifying more than
Yeah.
rectifying,
Yeah.
so to speak.
And then we'll sit there and waste an entire evening talking about something and not actually coming to any sort of conclusion or decision because we're just saying the same things back to each other and agreeing with each other, and we don't end up getting anywhere.
So how do you guys try and circumvent that so it doesn't just become this like kind of spiral of just like, you know, acknowledging the problem that is and not really doing anything about it?
We got a business coach.
Do you?
Yep.
And I know, before we get into that, I know I'm a big Alex Hormozy fan as well.
Yeah.
Bought both of his books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads.
Yep.
Did you guys actually, I know you said you found him as a mentor. Did you guys actually sign on with him? Or
We
did you
didn't.
guys just follow like his books and his social media training? Yeah.
So we just followed a lot of his advice, and that kind of got us to a point where we needed more. So we thought about, actually, we wanted to reach out to him, but we ended up finding a local coach here.
Okay.
So
Do you mind me asking who it is?
Absolutely. It's Ashley Frank,
Okay.
Thrive Growth Solutions.
Okay.
Shout out to Ashley.
Right on.
He's fantastic. But he ends up being more of a sounding board for us. So we can talk about ideas, and he'll come back with like, oh, maybe that's not the best way to deal with it, or this is what I would suggest. And he's also a big Alex Hormozy fan, which was a big selling feature for
So some good
us.
alignment there.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to say that like everything Alex says or does is aligned with us.
I find he's a little extreme in some cases.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, 150, 200 calls a day.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, and then it makes me feel like, you know, maybe I'm not doing enough. If that's what he's saying he's doing, then, you know, it's like,
I think that's what he's trying to do, though.
yeah.
And even if you're not going to get up to what he's doing, at least you'll do more than you thought was good enough.
And I think his message is, even if you don't get to what I'm doing, but if you just generally do more, then you will get more, I think is like the main message.
Yes.
I sometimes take things too
Literally.
And then if I don't meet those goals or milestones, then I almost feel like not good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I didn't make a good enough effort. So it's kind of tough for me sometimes to set goals, and if I don't achieve them, then I kind of feel a little crappy. But so that's kind of part of, like I was saying, I read the book like Never Good Enough. It's like trying to kind of overcome some of that, like, hey, you still did more than you were doing. You didn't get to where you exactly strove to get to, but it's still more, so you should still be happy.
Yeah.
Which is some of the struggles I have anyway.
That makes sense, but yeah, it's hard in the moment. You're like, I didn't meet my goal. Like, I guess I need to keep working. It's 9 o'clock at night. What else am I gonna do?
Exactly. And that goes back to like, it's always business, and not so much like any personal or time to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you say your business coach helped the most with your guys' kind of transition?
Organizing us. We're both idea people, Jake and I, so we like to come up with something new, and we're like, okay, let's do it. Let's just do it. It doesn't matter. We don't need to think through it. It just seems like a good idea, so let's start implementing.
Right.
And so our business coach, Ashley, has helped us to slow down and follow through with things a little more. Probably the biggest thing. And then just like little tidbits here and there that we never would have thought to implement that he's brought in have been super, super helpful. But yeah, mostly organization of our thoughts.
Yeah, that's important for sure. And sometimes I can get caught in that as well. It's like, I'm just going to do it, and we'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Instead of like really putting the framework together in like a step-by-step process. Because sometimes, you know, for me, and I'm sure you guys can attest yourselves, like when you get in it, sometimes that you kind of you lose some of that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of feel like maybe you start getting overwhelmed because you never thought it out good enough, didn't put a proper plan together, and then you're kind of just like, almost spinning your wheels, but
and then not sticking with it for long enough to know if it's truly going to work or not.
But on the flip side, at least you got after it, and you're not like some people, are idea people, but that's all they do is come up with ideas, and there's no implementation, and then that becomes like a negative kind of cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the flip side of it.
Yeah, but at least you're getting after it, I guess, is the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely implementers, but we're not always follow-throughers.
Right.
So if things aren't going according to plan quickly, we like to think of the new idea.
So you're pivoting.
Yeah.
You're pivoting a little early, maybe.
Maybe a little too harshly, too.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're getting better at that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for anybody in business, that's definitely going to be a challenge on, like, are we doing the right stuff? Are we paying enough attention to the detail? And kind of moving along from there, instead of like, oh, this isn't working, and you pivot to the next one, and you really don't get a handle on what's working good or bad.
Yeah.
And coming to a better conclusion on the direction you should be going.
Yeah. For sure. And Jake is a lot worse at that than I am. He likes to pivot very quickly.
So you find you got to reel him in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife could probably say the same thing. We're not in business together, but obviously I float a lot of stuff by her.
Right.
And I'm a lot of go, 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 and she's more my whoa. So, cause like, you point and shoot me, I'd run through that wall if I thought it was beneficial. Right. So sometimes she's got to be like, hey man, like, reel it in.
Is this really the best move? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you need that. You need that person for sure. And she's that person for me. So
cool. That's good.
So on that note, how do you guys handle division of tasks, like being in business together, like whether it's in the business or at home? Does that cause any conflict, or is it like pretty divided and it kind of works well for you guys?
We're pretty good on that front. Probably just because Jake's jobs are very clear. He does the installs, he does all the field work and sales. And then I do everything else. So it works out pretty good. Lately, he's been moving more into my world just because I'm overwhelmed and trying to learn so much and do everything, that he's trying to help with marketing and even just advice and bouncing ideas and that sort of thing. So it's working really well with business, and for at home, got a huge life hack for people here. We moved my parents into our in-law suite.
Nice.
And they help so much. Like, couldn't do it without them, honestly. It's built-in childcare. My mom is fantastic. She helps with meal prepping. She helps tidy the house. My dad takes care of yard work and that sort of thing. So we're really, really, really fortunate to have that support system so close. And we can focus on the business and
Yeah, and definitely the in-law suite thing is definitely becoming more and more prevalent. Like,
yes.
I've been working with numerous different clients that are either working towards that same goal, to have their parents maybe move from another province, because things are expensive too. And I'm not saying that everybody's doing it from a point of affordability, but maybe it's also from a vantage point of support. Life is super busy now. It's I don't know if things have changed, or maybe I wasn't aware of like how busy life is like pre-adulthood.
Yeah.
But people need support, so it's and it's nice to hear that they have it. My parents are very similar, always doing stuff for us. I mean, they're 3 hours away, but they even do a great job from where they're at. So
awesome.
I don't know if they'd ever leave Argyle, but down the road someday, if they needed more support, like it'd be something that I'd definitely consider. Like, we have a nanny suite we converted our garage to, like the door that was downstairs. So we got a gal in there right now renting till January.
Okay.
But the idea was like maybe we rent it for a while, and then maybe if we're still here and somebody in our family needs a place or needs extra support, then we have something there for them so they can be close by. They can help us out a little bit, and we can kind of support them as well.
Yeah, it's a really nice option to have. Yeah. Like, when we moved out here originally, we didn't know anybody out here. Came out with a baby, right? An infant. He was 4 months old. So we had no support for the first 2 years. And of course, coming out here, I didn't think I needed it. Like, no, I can totally do it all myself.
Of course.
But it was hard. And then when I had the opportunity to bring my parents out, it was not something I ever thought that I would want. I love my parents. They've always been more than helpful, but they can drive me crazy, as most people's parents do, right?
100%.
So if you would have asked me a couple of years ago if I ever thought I'd want my parents even living in the same city as me, I would have said no.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing that's ever happened to us.
Quite a 360.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's
Kids
awesome.
change a lot too, though.
Yeah, I've heard, like, we don't have any yet, but yeah, I heard that, like, the perspective of things changes. Like, it's just like and people explain it, it's like it's like it's not there, and then they arrive and everything kind of.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had the same?
Yeah. Yeah. I never wanted kids.
No,
we didn't plan on having kids. Never thought I would have, but obviously I'm very happy I did.
Yeah.
But things are so different. Like everything is for him now. You know, like everything I do has like some part of it. The reason I'm doing it is for my kiddo in the end. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we could attest, like Caitlin and I kind of were on the same kind of wavelength, like as you guys. We've been together, man, I gotta get this right. 12 years.
Okay.
And yeah, we were kind of like, oh, in our 20s, we're like, oh, maybe we just don't have kids and we just live our life and we can travel and have all this fun. And, we were kind of like, yeah, maybe we can just be the cool aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
But then, like, she only has one brother, no kids there. He's a bit older. I have two siblings. They're a bit younger than me. Brother's a year. My sister's, I think, 6 or 7 years younger. I should know that, too. A little embarrassing. But, we kind of noticed that, being aunt and uncles, maybe not happening, at least not right now. And then, the things happen, like her friends started having kids, my friends started having kids. We started getting invited to birthdays, all the kid events, which we're super happy and grateful to be included in, because I had this other few friend groups, like, they have kids and then all of a sudden they think like you don't want to hang out with them because like the kid's there and it's like a burden or like annoyance. And like I've never ever thought that for any of my friends. Like I'd want to be included in everything and anything they'd love for us to be in.
That's nice.
Yeah, but anyway, so now with the whole kids having friends having kids, more so, we're kind of dabbling a little bit in the thought of having one. So yeah, I can definitely attest to, wasn't a plan to have any, but now it's kind of, well, maybe sort of, yeah. But we're still like not trying to put any pressure on it. And if it happens, awesome. And maybe if it doesn't, by a certain point, age becomes a factor.
Yes. Maybe
we don't, but we're not quite there yet. So we're still kind of meandering through it, I guess. So
cool.
Yeah. So, back to the family dynamic, what would be like some of the biggest net positives like you've found like going into business with your partner? And maybe alternatively, what would be some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced? Yeah. If you're willing to share.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Definitely just like very two people focused on the same thing with like the exact same stake in the game.
So the alignment.
Yeah, just like totally aligned for the same goals. I think it's really powerful. And we both have the same thing to lose too if it doesn't go right. So
would you say that's built your relationship stronger?
I think so. Yeah, I think it has. Yeah, and I just love it. Like I love that we can talk about anything and everything, and if like it's not somebody just coming home from work and unloading all their garbage onto another person. Yeah. And I mean, we were there for a little bit when Jake had a plumbing job early in our Nova Scotia days. Like he would come home and he obviously needs to decompress.
Right.
And I've been at home with an infant all day, so I just want to have fun. And he comes home and just like unloads all the garbage that he's dealt with all day. So that's hard. I can see how people would struggle with that type of relationship. But now we're dealing with the same things and on different sides of it, but it matters, like all the stuff that all the fires that I have to put out in a day matter to him. So we talk about it and come to decisions and solutions. Sometimes we just,
Vent.
you know, yes.
Yeah.
And then the same thing, like our celebrations. So like if he gets a sale or like kills a job, like does a really good job and gets it done in 4 hours instead of 6, like we have those celebrations together because we both benefit from it, because the business does and our family does.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of that, you know, getting a new job or getting a sale or whatever, Jake had texted me one day after we'd done the podcast, and I never even thought of it. Rewinding a little bit, somebody had reached out on one of the reels that we've done from the podcast, asking about your service. He's like, I think I want that. And I was like, oh, I fully support that. Here's the website. Here's who you need to contact.
Yeah.
Never even thought, because, you know, social media, sometimes people pop in there, they comment, which is great for the engagement. But sometimes you think, like, you know, people are pretty wishy-washy, so you think it's just like kind of lip service. But then Jake texted me. He's like, hey, man, just wanted to let you know somebody from that watched the podcast or one of the reels reached out and actually bought one of our services, our system, sorry. And for me, that was so fulfilling, because the whole point of this podcast is to highlight local business and entrepreneurs doing cool stuff in Halifax and getting it out to the public and making them aware. So for me for him to message me and tell me that you guys got an install because of what we'd done together, that was super heartwarming and fulfilling on my end. So and it makes doing stuff like this easier, because it was pretty hard to, you know, I know you were a little nervous getting in here.
Oh, yeah.
I was super nervous putting myself out there and saying that I was doing a podcast, and, you know, it was kind of like, oh, maybe people think this is stupid or whatever, but I kind of just got after it.
Yeah.
And it's been a very positive outcome in terms of like meeting new people, doing cool stuff, and helping them get some new eyes on their businesses as well. Not that I'm like Joe Rogan or anything, but like, you know, I've got some good feedback that people are seeing the content, and it's out there, and it seems to be kind of generating some benefit for both. So it's been super awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty exciting. When Jake told me where that sale came from, I was like, wow, it's so cool. It's just like things coming like full circle almost.
Yeah.
Like just a random clip of you guys having a conversation got somebody to just know about our service and then look into it.
Right.
Pretty awesome.
It kind of validates that it's like, you know, is this worth doing? Is it generating any benefit for anybody?
Yeah.
And come to find out, like, yeah, it definitely is. So it's it makes me want to do more, makes me want to talk to more people.
Right.
And that's kind of what led us here again today, because I wanted to hear more about, you know, how it works being in business with your spouse or your partner, and the dynamics and such. So, yeah, what would you say, you know, sets you guys apart from other services in the area? Are there any direct competitors? Like, I know we talked a little bit, Jake and I, about, like, you know, there's Kyle's waterproofing, and there's a bunch of those types of services. What would you say sets yourself apart from those? Or are you guys direct competitors, or would you say you're a little bit outside of that? We
definitely don't offer the same services, but we solve the same problem.
Okay.
So fairly direct competitors, but in a pretty different way.
Do you ever find yourselves maybe working together with them for an overall solution for clients, or are you still a little separate?
No, we're pretty separate. So we do sump pump systems with backup pumps and flood alert monitors. It's a pretty advanced system. And they do full waterproofing around the house, and in some cases will include a sump pump system. So they wouldn't need our help because they do it on their own, but our system is just more, it's a little fancier, honestly, and we tend to not need the waterproofing aspect. So one of our selling features to clients is if you don't have foundation cracking or problem, you're just dealing with the groundwater coming up, we can solve that. Big difference is we are in and out in a single day. Like, we're less than a full day's work, about 6 hours, maybe a little bit more on a really, really difficult dig. And we don't, the only area that we need to demo in your house is like a 3 by 3 foot square. We don't need to take up all your flooring. If you're doing interior waterproofing, if you're doing exterior waterproofing, it's even worse. You need an excavator to come in. Like,
dig
I hope,
up all around.
yeah, I hope you don't have any like nice landscaping or
Right,
plants that you care about, and you're just left with a mud pit.
Right.
So we're in and out in a day. Leave the place cleaner than we found it. We take a lot of pride in that. It's something that I've drilled into Jake when I used to work on the job with him, because I used to, when we were doing plumbing, I was out there digging trenches and jackhammering people's basements and doing all the labor work too. And cleanup was always kind of like, you need to sweep your way out of somebody's home, like
Absolutely.
show respect for their place, whether it was messy when you got there or not, like clean it up. Obviously not people's belongings or anything, but like clean the floor. If there's mud, wipe it up or anything like that. So we take a lot of pride in that. And I think going back to family business too, like we care about other families, and not to say that the other companies don't, but it's a big part of what we're doing. Like we want to come out and help people. We want to make sure that if you're getting water in your basement, like maybe you have kids even upstairs, like there's potential for mold, and that can be dangerous. So we do home assessments, or I should say Jake does home assessments. And when I try and book those with people, I always tell it's very, very no obligation. Jake's not a salesman.
Right.
He's out there to offer advice. And hopefully you'll end up going with our system, because we truly believe that in most cases it's a good solution. But honestly, the home assessment is about coming out and helping you come up with a solution to solve that problem, whether it's with us, whether it's something you can do on your own, or in some cases, people do need full waterproofing if there's foundation cracking or whatever. We have some people we recommend. Shout out, I really like HF Excavating.
Okay.
Yeah, HF Excavating. They do exterior waterproofing and they do a really good job. But yeah, it's more about getting out there and helping people solve a problem.
Yeah, I think it's super important that people know you care.
Yeah.
You know, because especially my business, and I may have come at this, and I'm fully taking full accountability. When you get into real estate, you want to get going so fast, and you want to get all this business that, maybe in the start of things, I might have made some people feel like more of a transaction,
right,
than actually caring about, transitioning them from this home into the new one. Not to say that I was like, just like, oh, business transaction, let's get it done. But like, probably didn't go about it like the best way at first. But then once you kind of learn how to manage yourself and clients and show them that you really want to help and you're not just there for the money, that kind of really changes things up. Like when you make people feel like they're appreciated and cared for, they don't, obviously the transaction's part of it, but don't make them feel like you're just a number on your spreadsheet to get them to their level of award or success or whatever they're looking for. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you have to learn that, right? It's not always the easiest thing, because when it comes down to it, it is business, and if we don't stay in business, then we can't help more people.
Exactly.
So you need the transaction to happen, but I just try and come at it first from a place of caring, and I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you say, like, you guys always leave a place better than you found it. Like, I used to work in consumer packaged goods.
Yeah.
For Unilever, may not tell you anything. So Unilever's a big consumer packaged goods company.
Yeah.
They own a lot of brands like Axe, Dove soap, Tresemme shampoo, Q-tips, Vaseline. That's on the health and beauty side. I was tasked with the ice cream business in the gas convenience segment primarily, but I also managed the distribution for all ice cream across small and large format.
Cool.
Used to work with Rick Monroe, was my manager, direct report. I often call, I don't know if he watches this, but he was a guy I looked up to a lot, especially for the 8.5 years I was with Unilever. I often refer to him as my business dad. Dad was always entrepreneur, working, but he was more like work. You know, Rick, you know, on the business side of things, running a business, a portfolio for a big company, like he kind of taught me the ropes in that aspect.
Right.
And his thing was like, hey, when you go to a store call, always leave the store looking better than when you walked in. And mostly that revolved around like our ice cream cabinets or our displays. But even if you had to, you know, if you noticed something was a little out of sorts, and you didn't have to go completely out of your way if it was something, you know. Yeah.
Within reason.
Within reason, right? So that's cool. And I think it's important. And, you know, we've had contractors here who did the downstairs, did the upstairs bathroom. And one thing I really appreciated is they always cleaned up their mess.
Yeah.
You know?
It's super important.
Yeah. Because it's like, you know, we're paying you big money and we don't necessarily want you, you know, want to be cleaning up after you. Although it's, you know, yeah, we hired you. It's part of the job. Or part of the process more so. It's just nice to see people take that pride in their work. And
it's just showing respect for someone's home too.
Yeah. Because it's like, you know, you're in their home maybe for most of the day or, you know, in these renovations, like the extent where they're here for months or weeks. So like for them to leave and then you have to deal with their mess, it's just like, you know, a little sour taste in your mouth, right? So it's cool that you guys care, and most people do, but some people don't. Yeah. And but I think that sets people apart a little bit from other services for sure.
Yeah, it can be hard at the end of the day too. Like it's one of the last things you do, and you just want to go home.
I know. So for everybody, either go home or you want to just like live your life and have your evening, but. You know, if it's not clean, then you got to clean because you don't want to, like, you know, it's in this compounding effect. They come back tomorrow and there's more mess.
Absolutely.
And it's just a snowball effect. But yeah, so I know you're busy. I just had another question, I guess, and we'll let you get on your way. Any big plans, expansion? I know I heard some rumblings. You guys were kind of busy getting something set up.
Yeah, so we're working on an expansion to Ontario right now. In true Jake and Jacqui fashion, it was a rushed decision. We went out there for a week, probably about a month ago now, for our first sort of scoping the place out visit. We are originally from Niagara, which is where we're trying to start up another chapter, I guess, or another location. And it's a lot more work kind of than we anticipated. Yeah, it's been hard. The messaging is a lot different. So we're from Niagara, so we know what's going on there. We know the problems that they're facing, but I feel like we've now been in Nova Scotia for so long that we're used to speaking to a Nova Scotian audience. Okay. And the Ontario consumer is very different. So we're just trying to figure out how we need to change our messaging. Our system is really valid there because they have a lot of power outages as well, but they don't have the extended power outages that we have here. Right. They tend to have more heavy rain and short-term couple of hour power outages. So in our system specifically, like the big difference that I think we need to focus on talking to folks out there about is the power of our backup pump, is it can actually keep up for just those couple of hours that the power is out. Whereas out here, we want to talk more about how long the battery backup will last.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I really enjoy for those that don't know is your backup power is good for up to 8 days. Yep. So let's just say, like, you know, Caitlin and I, if we're not pregnant or whatever, you know, we want to go maybe somewhere hot this winter, and you know, that would be something if we were worried about water issues, which I'm always all about being proactive. So I think, you know, in the near future, we'll probably have to get you in here. Yeah. But it's just that peace of mind, like, hey, I can go on a 7-day vacation wherever in the world. Yes. And if there is a massive storm, your system will make sure that our home isn't flooded with a foot of water in it when we return. Because I couldn't imagine any bigger nightmare than coming home from a week-long vacation of relaxation to then walk into a disaster zone and have to deal with that. And then it probably just ruins your your nice vacation and your recharge, and now you're back to maximum stress immediately back into your home trying to fix things. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that peace of mind and the app and the notifications. I think you guys got a great service. I hope a lot more people get to know about it, and I hope that I can help kind of spread that message. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. And just to be clear, I know Jake mentioned it in our last episode, but where can they find you if they want to reach out? Where's the best place?
Yep. So we're on Instagram, Facebook at Mechanical Flood Protection. Also on YouTube. So we have a lot of installation videos and just information available there. Our website is mechanicalfloodprotection.com, and then info@mechanicalfloodprotection is the email address. We're really simple to find across the board. Just search up Mechanical Flood Protection. I'm also on Instagram. I have a personal account. It's all.jacqui, and I like to try and share just a bit more behind the scenes of our business and family business sort of thing there.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's super fun to follow your guys' videos along. I love the installs. I love to watch the water just disappear. And I hope people reach out, and we'll be keeping close tabs, and
awesome.
We'll be keeping in touch. So
yes.
Have a great day.
Fantastic.
We'll chat soon.
Thanks so much.